Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Adults Talk About Cool Stuff. This is ATACS episode number 50, the big 50. We determined that was L in Roman numerals before we went live, so we're going to go with that. I'm your host, Paul from Atlanta, and joining me today is Mr. Will from Greenville, North Carolina. Hello, Will. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah, Will is podcasting from the comfiness of a bed using a phone, so he's what we all wish that we could be this morning. Also joining us is Mr. Nate, hailing from the world of light. Hello, Nate.
I'm collecting spirits.
You are collecting spirits. How many do you have so far? All of them?
I don't know. I mean, at some point they all just run together. It's just a number that keeps going up.
Well, that's fair enough.
Let me tell you about the numbers that go up, Paul.
So Smash Bros. The clicker?
Yes, Smash Bros. Is now a clicker game. And other voice you heard was Mr. Flex from Raleigh, North Carolina. Hello, Flex.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. We made it to episode 50 somehow.
I don't know. We just sort of kept recording. It's just a lot of words.
I thought this thing would fall apart before now.
Episode large, y'all.
Episode large. So we're going to start with Mr. Will. Will, you've been playing some stuff that you would like to talk about, so I'm going to let you do that.
Well, I think I'll probably start with the game called My Memory of Us, which I've mentioned a couple times to Flex, kind of off and on off the podcast. It's because to me, I guess it's a game that seems like it would have maybe gotten a little bit more attention than it did. But at the same time, I did play it like longer than 2 weeks ago, so maybe I'm breaking the ATACS rule, bringing it into the fold.
Oh,
but our
no.
last podcast, was the first one we'd had in a minute. So I had a lot of stuff that I had kind of touched that I thought was kind of interesting. So this is sort of like a side-scrolling kind of, I guess, adventure game. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of, well, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the best way to talk about it. But basically, you've got these two little kids, and they're hanging out in this place that's sort of like, I don't know, maybe like pre-war Poland. And so the whole thing is kind of like an allegory. So, you've got, well, I guess it's an allegory. I guess I'll tell you of what, but, basically these two children in, World War II kind of dealing with like a Nazi invasion. So that's kind of what's happening. And the little girl, she's one of the red folk, which is kind of the stand-in for Jewish people. And the little boy is just like a standard, Polish kid or a standard German kid or whatever. So they become friends and kind of go on some sort of adventures, towards the beginning of the game. And then there's an invasion of like the robot army, which sort of, is kind of the stand-in for like, the Nazis coming in.
Right.
And, a lot of the puzzles are just really kind of interesting that you use to progress. So it's interesting. At one point, there are certain places that the girl can't go. And so some of the puzzles actually might be you going into a room or going into business or something, and then finding like a back door or like a rope you can drop or a ladder or something, some way to like get the girl in because she can't get in as a Jewish person or as a red person in the game's parlance. It's got this really interesting sort of stark color scheme. Like the whole thing is sort of like kind of black and white with splashes of red. And basically the red pieces are usually kind of, I guess, really important. So, the red people option, are the Jewish people. And of course they make these people wear red clothes, almost like the Yellow Star of David that
Right.
the Jewish people were forced to wear. The whole thing is, it's kind of, it's whimsical. It's not as dark as I make it kind of sound. And it's kind of almost, it almost makes you think in a way about the way that children can take something really horrific a lot of times and kind of, I guess, process it in a way or see it in a way, bring a certain perspective to it that's kind of, I guess, still kind of has some sort of light in it, you know? So,
Right.
Dodging these guards, seeming almost like, I don't know, maybe just more silly than dangerous, I guess. But at the same time, the game has a certain weight to it as well. It's not being careless with its subject matter.
Right.
There were a couple things about it, I guess, that kind of bugged me. I mean, one thing is switching between the two characters. So
Right.
you can have the two characters hold hands and they'll kind of move together, but there are certain things that kind of separate them. And so there were a couple scenes where it's like you'll climb over this box, which you end up doing a lot in the game, and the other character won't come with you. And sometimes you're being chased by these guards, so you're kind of switching back and forth as quick as you possibly can to like hop over these boxes because one of them will just stand there dumbfounded. It's like, oh my God, where did my buddy go? Whenever you
Right.
jump over the boxes. So that could be a little bit irritating and a little bit micromanagey, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I actually kind of wrote in my little review there that it seems like part of that is to make it feel like these characters need each other. Each of the character has a separate ability. So the little boy, if you're controlling him, he can sneak. And if he's holding hands with the girl, then he can kind of help her sneak too. He also has this mirror, which is a very weird ability considering he only has one ability. It's a very weird ability to have, but he can sort of, I guess, redirect like beams of light into the eyes of the guards. So that way they can sneak by or something, or the little girl can go do something while he's blinding a guard. And the girl has a slingshot and she also can run. So that's her thing. So if she's holding his hand and you're controlling her predominantly, then you can run with both of them. So they kind of need each other to get through these situations and solve these little puzzles. A lot of the puzzles are actually pretty clever. There's one where you actually create this guard suit. Basically, you look like a general. You look like some sort of Nazi or robot general, and you it's almost like if you ever seen like two kids in a trench coat trying to get into like a rated R movie or whatever. That's sort of the situation.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I'll save the best detail for last, which is actually that Patrick Stewart narrates the entire game.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
And there are these like sort of scenes at the end of each one of the game sections where he talks a little bit about because he basically plays the boy, I guess, or he's kind of reminiscing about what happened when he was a young boy, and he's got this sort of this like majestic timbre, like which of course we all kind of know and recognize, I guess, the Patrick Stewart situation,
right?
But it really added quite a bit to the game. So
I'm curious, what is the sort of feeling of his narration? Is it like very somber, or is it like?
No, it's kind of it's almost kind of like an old man telling a child a story,
right?
Okay.
And I there's no way on earth I can ever narrate,
right? Yeah.
So
no, I get it.
Leave that there, But anyway, that was one thing that I just I think that game should get more attention. And so I guess I just kind of plug it and just kind of talk to you guys a little bit about that situation.
Yeah. So I'm looking at some of the features around the game now, and I'm just kind of like the thing that I'm kind of getting as the actual gameplay is that it seems like it's, like you say, kind of an adventure game with puzzle elements. Is that kind of the way that you'd sum up what the actual gameplay is like?
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, when I think adventure anyway, I kind of think a little bit, with the whole, a little bit puzzle element. Um, it's pretty, I guess it's kind of simple gameplay. Some of the things you do are pretty funny. Like I said, the creating of the costume. Another one of my favorite things was there are these pictures of like, um, the Robot King,
Mhm.
or Hitler everywhere. And you deface one of these pictures and use it to distract guards, which I thought was pretty great. Like you draw like a big mustache on it and put glasses on him and everything. It's a very mischievous kid solution to an issue. But yeah, it's basically just sort of like a side-scrolling puzzle, light platforming element type of situation.
Okay.
But
Really
it's
like the look of this. I'm looking at like some screenshots and videos and stuff. It has a really
Yeah.
cool look to it.
yeah, I like the graphical style a lot.
It looks like it was developed in Poland.
It could have been. I don't exactly know. I hadn't done a lot of research into the developer or anything. I know that I think this is the first thing they've developed that I've played.
Yeah.
So. But anyway,
No,
I was just gonna.
that's it's a really neat look. I mean, like their use of the grayscale, but then like the red standing out is a really good accent.
Yeah, and I think
And
there
I like
might
the
have been
design,
another.
like the enemies and stuff. Like that looks really menacing.
Oh yeah, they look like SteamWorld enemies in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they actually robots?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a really kind of a funny aspect too. Like there are times you can dump red paint on the robots' heads, and
Mhm.
like you can find some way to do that. And then the one robot, I don't remember how many times you do this in the game. It might only be once, but I thought that was so funny that the robots are so driven, to take care and sort of separate and I guess detain the red people or the Jews, that if you
Mhm.
dump red paint on another robot, like the other one will be like, I need
That's
to
pretty
take care
good.
of you and knock him out of the way.
That's
And I
pretty
guess
good.
one of the reasons that I think that this kind of spoke to me a little bit is just that, maybe just the current kind of political climate in a way.
Hmm.
They're always, I guess it seems like, and you can hear John Oliver talk about this, but like, with the rise of authoritarianism, there's always some sort of scapegoat, and a lot of times that scapegoat can take the form of like, people of another culture or another race or another
Right.
language or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
and I feel like that we're seeing a resurgence in these games that like the moral that they're trying to tell is, hey, we had this big rise in authoritarianism, not really that long ago on historical timescales, and things didn't go well. They had a war about it. The whole world was involved.
right. Yes.
And I think it's kind of prescient now to like see more of these messages, and I think that they're kind of landing, and that's why you're seeing this. Is number one, people want to speak out, but number two, people also want to see more of that. So it's just kind of, this is the second or third game I've run into in the last, I think, probably month, where they've got that kind of World War II-ish motif to it, or they're trying to impart some lesson that society had learned in World War II and maybe now is forgetting or unlearning, depending on your perspective. So I don't know, it's just kind of neat.
Yeah. So the other thing, I haven't really played a ton of single player stuff over the last 2 weeks. So the other thing I guess I'm going to go ahead and dive into is a game involving a protagonist named Agent 47.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
And it's like Hitman 6, but it's called Hitman 2 because it's the second one of the rebooters.
It's
No,
a
it
reboot,
says-
baby.
Clearly, the number 2 is in the title. This is the second Hitman game.
You're right. Okay, fair enough. And I started this off, and at first, I think it took me a second to kind of get back in the groove with this game because, it's weird because it's kind of advertised, and you kind of think of it as sort of like a stealth game, but in a lot of ways, it's not, in my opinion. I guess, and so it's weird to me that, I guess at the beginning I was sort of thinking of it, like walking into it sort of like I walk into most of like the third person kind of stealth games. But to me, every time I think about the Hitman games, I guess I think about these kind of overlapping layers, almost like, like if you think about, and I don't know why I can't come up with a better explanation for this. Maybe it's because I only woke up a little ago. But anyway, so if you think about like the center of the earth, you've got like the layers,
Mhm.
you've got like the crust and you've got the whatever, the mantle and then the magma and the who knows. But you've got
Mhm.
all these like layers to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Okay. Maybe that's
There you go. There you go.
anyway. And so at the very center of all these layers is your target, and basically it's a game about figuring out kind of how to traverse these layers. And a lot of times, to me at least, the way the game plays is you isolate a baddie who's got a certain uniform on, and you take him out, get that uniform, and that uniform will give you access to one of these layers. And then you can get a little bit closer to the target. Then you get another, you find another guy that you can isolate and take down, get another uniform that gets you one layer closer. And so to me, I always think about these games as these sort of overlapping textures. I don't know, for some reason that always kind of comes to my mind when I play them. And so it takes a minute, because in a lot of ways, even though it doesn't sound like a really complicated thing, it is. I don't think I play any other games that really involve that sort of, I don't know. It does seem unique. Hitman,
Right.
the new Hitman games do seem to be doing something very unique. And of course, the other aspect of it is just going through and doing the different kinds of mission stories.
Mhm.
And before I just sort of turn it over, because I'm also very curious about, whether or not you guys like this one more than the last iteration, or it was about the same, or, what some of your favorite mission stories were. But I'll go ahead and tell Paul, because I don't think he's played it. But
No, I'm not.
there's one of these, my favorite one, and I don't know if this is really a spoiler or even matters, but I was talking in the channel a little bit about it, is the whack-a-mole mission story.
Mhm.
Okay, so one of these guys you have to take out, Paul, is this old man. All right,
Okay.
and he is very peculiar. He likes to inspect everything that's done on his property,
Okay.
and he's got a mole problem. There are these mole hills everywhere. All right,
Okay.
and one of the things that happens as you play Hitman when you're walking around is you're always finding like little things that could be useful later. Like you might find a wrench and you don't need it right then, but maybe you'll need it later to like turn something. Same thing with like
Or to throw it at people.
screwdrivers.
Yeah, or just throw in somebody's
You
face.
can throw it at people, but it's a non-lethal kill, so it's not quite as, depending
It's
on
not quite
what
as
you're going
fun.
for.
But if
Why
you're
not
trying
just-
to do it clean,
Mhm.
right.
you want those
Who does
non
that?
kills.
But we're already dealing with the dirt. We're getting in the dirt because we're talking about moles. So we're not doing anything.
Use the wrench to kill the moles.
Yes. So, well, Paul, you're more accurate than you think.
Oh,
So
really?
you can get like, you're going around collecting all kinds of stuff. And so by the end, you might have like 3 screwdrivers and 2 wrenches and a rat poison or 2. You might have a brick in your inventory.
Soda
And
cans, pasta.
soda cans. There you go. So, in this particular mission story, you find a way to take down this mole guy, this sort of mole pest removal guy, and get into his clothes. And strangely enough, Hitman can wear anybody's clothes.
Yeah, it's
Like,
I'm just convinced
all
that's
human
that's
beings
a
are the
superpower.
same size in Hitman world.
So that, yeah.
And he always
and
looks
so-
sharp no matter what he's wearing.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's looking good. That's his main special ability. Actually, it's not that he's such a great hitman. He's just that he's a magnificent dresser and tailor on the fly.
Maybe
Um,
that's what makes a great hitman.
That might be it. So anyway, they've got this mole problem. You get in the mole costume. You get in the backyard, and there's 6 mole hills back there. All right.
Okay.
And the guy is he's already a little bit of an unconventional mole removal guy because he uses like explosives, or he wants to use an explosive.
Okay.
And basically you have to go around and take care of all the molehills before it kind of triggers this guy to come outside and check your work. And the way that you actually fill all these molehills is just jam something from your inventory inside them. And so, like, you walk up to one and, you know, you activate it, and then it'll pull up your inventory, and you just pick anything, and he, like, somehow jams it in the hole and then, like, puts dirt around it. So at the end of it, I had, like, 3 screwdrivers and 2 wrenches and a brick.
I think I jammed a newspaper down there.
Yeah, just jam it in there. You know, that's how you handle it. And then in one of the holes, you jam this explosive and cover it with dirt. And then when the old guy like walks over to check your work, you just like blow this explosive up out of the mole hole and then take him down. And that to me, it exemplifies a lot of great things about the game. I mean, one is sort of the opportunistic feel of the kills. 2 is just like the ridiculous humor, which I think Flex will probably get a little bit more into. I think that's one of his favorite things about the game. But there are all kinds of little ridiculous ways that you can kind of, you know, take the enemies down. But I'd say overall, you know, at least from my answers to those questions, I kind of feel like it was kind of about the same to me, I guess, as the first Hitman. But it is doing such a unique thing that it's not like I really was fatigued with it or anything. I mean, I was kind of, once I kind of got back into it, I had a great time just going through, and at least I can't say I did all the mission stories, but I got far enough in them to see kind of what the deal was. There was one where you become the shaman and perform this blessing ceremony at a construction site. And I got all the way to the construction site and performed the blessing, but I never got quite far enough that the game triggered and told me that the mission story had completed. I think I ended up dropping some large piece of concrete on this lady's head instead of actually killing her the way the game wanted me to. And so I didn't so that was kind of the case with some of them for me. I didn't actually do them all, but I kind of got far enough along to be like, okay, I see kind of how this would go down. But yeah, so I mean, I thought it was a fun thing. I wouldn't say that it was like one of my 10 best, 2018 games, but I don't regret really any of the time.
Did you get a chance to use the heat-seeking briefcase, which I've seen many GIFs on the internet of?
I think I threw something at someone that did a little bit of heat-seeking. Might have been just like a knife or something.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it seems like once Hitman locks on and throws whatever it is, it'll he doesn't miss,
No, he never misses.
He never misses.
He's a professional.
It'll turn corners. I mean, go through, whatever. Once he locks on, he's like a shark.
That's great.
So yeah, what did you guys think?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, like you said, this is the second one of like the quote unquote reboot, called Hitman 2. But yeah, it's these games, like you said, they kind of do their own unique, I don't know what the best phrase is for it, but like just the way these levels are like these big sprawling clockwork things where you kind of poke and prod and delve into those layers you were talking about and explore and find all sorts of opportunities to throw a wrench both figuratively and literally into things. It's fun to just like figure all that stuff out because they've set up so many goofy ways to interact, not just with your targets, because most levels you have 2 or 3 targets you have to take down, and it's not just the ways you interact with them, it's the ways you interact with everyone in these levels. That it's fun to piece together, and they have a very, one of the main things I like about it is they have a very clear system of rules.
Yeah.
Right.
That the game follows without fail all the time. And sometimes they are very, very gamey rules that don't make like real life would not work that way.
Right.
But the game follows them and kind of leans into them and even jokes about them at times that like it makes it all feel like a big playground. That's really just fun to poke around with.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it's always entertaining walking into these levels, and you are just this embodiment of what a hitman is in like every sense of the word.
Right.
Because you're just like walking around a racetrack or a party in a suburban neighborhood, and like everything around you is just highlighted as like, that's a way to kill someone.
Yeah. Yeah, so you do have your detective vision or whatever you want to call it, the highlight stuff, and it's just like, oh man, like everything here is usable. Like,
yeah. And then you'll just like overhear a conversation, and it'll be like, I don't know, you can maybe like follow this really roundabout way of killing this person that like no rational person would think of, but
Right.
you are Hitman and you're going to find the way to kill the person.
yeah, because
Just
there's
imagining, like you're like walking around some barbecue, and then it's like, I could kill that man with that grill. I can kill that man with those
Exactly.
tongs. I can kill that man with this beer can.
Yeah,
Are
like
you
that's
watching?
basically.
Are you watching? That's a thing. Are you watching something right now?
That is literally in this game.
yeah, because I mean, there are opportunities where you could just do the standard like sneak up behind them and snap their neck, or shoot them in the head with a silenced pistol. Like you could do or use the fiber wire.
Mhm.
Like
I did a lot of fiber wire.
yeah, you can just do very standard kills, or you could at the neighborhood you could go up to the cupcake stand and you could first subdue the guy running the cupcake stand, and then you run the cupcake stand, and then you put out a poisoned cupcake for the real estate agent to eat that'll make him need to go poop. And then you follow him to the bathroom, subdue him, and take his real estate costume so that you can then, as the real estate agent, go to your target and take them to the house to show. And then when you have them all alone in the basement in the security room, then you can kill them.
Why does the basement have a security room?
Because it's a basement.
Yeah.
Well, it's because these guys that you're dealing with are like, they're ex-spies, and so they're all paranoid. So they want homes with things like security rooms and bodyguards.
Yeah. So then in that example, in the basement is the secure vault with explosives that you can like trap the guy in.
Yeah.
It goes to so many levels of ridiculousness.
Yeah. And that is one of my favorite things about the game is like it really leans into just ridiculous assassination scenarios.
Right.
Like way more than it needs to, but it makes it fun. It puts the focus on just like, because like if you wanted to just do the very straightforward dry assassination, like in this game, like it would probably not be that hard and would maybe even be kind of dull. I don't know, but like they really encourage you to find the more outlandish ways to kill people. And there's like the whole challenge system in the game encourages that. So like the real meat of the game is actually replaying these levels and exploring different ways to kill people and like really learning all the details of the levels, which if you go down that route, which I haven't really done much of in this game yet, like you really feel like, all right, I know the lay of the land. Like I am the mastermind here. Like I am orchestrating all the strings because I just know how everything works. And like, that's a really satisfying feeling too.
Definitely.
One mission that kind of, I think, exemplifies that situation, and it's actually one of my favorite ones in the game, is there's a mission in Mumbai where you find a rival hitman.
Yes, this is the best story opportunity in the game by far.
I followed this all the way through. It's great.
And you have to you basically try and help him create the ideal circumstances so that he can like shoot your targets with sniper rifles. And that to me is a really interesting aspect because it's almost kind of like what Flex is saying, this idea that you're kind of orchestrating and you kind of know what's going on and you know kind of how to move these pawns around to get them to go kind of where you need them to go.
Yeah, because the other assassin has no idea you even exist. So you're like watching him and watching the targets and then trying to manipulate events so that they will end up killing the targets for you. It's so good.
Yeah. One of the other ones that I think Paul will get a kick out of is there's this Bollywood film set in the same mission. That mission is probably one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, that mission had multiple situations where I'm like, man, I really want to do this one too. And like, I ended up just doing one method, but it had a lot of entertaining looking things.
Oh yeah. So,
that sounds great.
So there's a Bollywood film set and there's a rooftop, Paul, where the two, I guess protagonists or whatever of this movie, the two star-crossed lovers get together and they kiss.
Right.
And because it's Bollywood, they have a fan on them that blows their hair in the wind and makes it seem majestic.
Of course.
And Hitman finds a way to sabotage the fan and make it blow a lot harder. And you literally blow the target off the top of the roof. And
it's not how fans work at all.
Yeah, well,
it is when Agent 47's involved.
Oh boy!
He found, you walk up there and sabotage the fan, and then jack up the power, and you watch your target. He's like trying to withstand the force of the fan. He's like, "Oh no! Oh no!" It's terrible.
I'm just going to take this fan and I'm just going to turn it up to where it's hurricane force wind. Okay.
Look, he's a master engineer, okay?
Obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's a professional.
He's a professional. That's right.
One of the most endlessly entertaining things is how good Agent 47 is at everything.
Yeah. Everything you do, he does it flawlessly.
Like, there's one mission where you can be a drummer in like a reggae band, and then there's one where you can be
a tattoo artist.
You can be a tattoo artist. There's one where you can be a barber, and like you're trying to get the target to come to your barber shop to get a shave, but like you can just shave random NPCs' beards, and they'll be like, "This is the best shave I've ever had."
So he's good at everything, and he can break the laws of physics. I can see why he's an excellent hitman.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
And I love, like, the game's dialogue around all of this is so good. Like, you're talking about the barber thing and them just commenting like it's the best shave they've ever had or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's so good.
Some guy comes out to the molehills to check on them before the guy comes, and he like looks down and sees your like newspapers and wrenches that are jammed in the holes, and he's like, "Well, this is a little unorthodox, but I guess it works." That's one of my favorite lines.
You just jammed a screwdriver in that. Okay.
Yeah, that mole's not coming out there.
Yeah,
anymore.
No mole's coming out of this hole.
No mole's coming from there.
Which That's also, great. Like, I think both the previous one and this one are like, I genuinely believe these are among the best comedy games I've ever played.
Oh, absolutely. They're so good.
Yeah, and it's not just like, oh, that was a funny cutscene or something. It's like the comedy is derived from like the like cartoonish interactions you're able to engage in and push, and like it's totally that slapstick humor of like, oh, I just threw a fish at someone's head and they like tumbled off a balcony or something, like, and then like the dialogue, the like totally like during like in action dialogue that is accompanied by that, like the NPCs' reactions to everything are just priceless.
Right.
Should I tell the monsoon story, Flex? The one I told you earlier?
I'll go for it, man.
Okay, so there's this one guy in that same mission that I keep talking about, and he starts off, and Diana, your handler, doesn't have any info on him. She's like, there's a guy here, he's called the Monsoon or whatever, and you need to find him. You need to figure out where he is, okay? And so this is the very start of the mission, Paul. I'm just wandering around Mumbai. What's that?
I think he might be the Maelstrom, actually.
The Maelstrom, that sounds right. Okay. So, which sounds very, very intimidating, doesn't it? It sounds like really like this dude's going to be tough. So anyway, I'm wandering around Mumbai, and I wander into this little alcove, and there's this little tribal axe that's just propped against the wall. And I like pick up the tribal axe because I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, and I think it's another great thing in the game that there are just random like deadly objects scattered everywhere.
Yeah. So I pick it up and I think that it's one of these things I can sheath, but it's not. Like if weapons are too big or like things like shovels, you can't sheath them. You have to just like sit there holding them. So I'm sitting there holding this tribal axe, and somebody sees me like from across the way, and he's like, "Hey, put that down. And so the funny thing is, if there's like if it's not a guard or anything and someone sees you doing something suspicious, they'll just like walk up to you and stare at you. They're like, hey, like, what are you doing? And
what are you doing there, guy?
This guy walks up to me and stares at me. And then he gets a guard's attention, and the guard comes up with a gun, and like I sit there and like fake surrender. I'm like, things aren't going good. I drop my little tribal axe, and the guard comes up and points his gun at me. And then I punch the guard in the face, and then I punch the guy in the face who came and first saw me pick up the axe. And Diana's like, that's him. You found the maelstrom. And apparently the random guy who just saw me pick up the axe and wandered into my face was this like elusive target. And
That's
I just
great.
reached down and broke his neck, and it was like, way to go, 47. And I was like, man, that's the best way to find him.
The tribal axe of luring.
Yes, that's it. I just lured him by picking up the tribal axe and then punched him in the face and broke his neck. And that was how I found the elusive target that we had no intel on.
That's pretty good.
The
That's
maelstrom.
pretty good. Any other thoughts about Hitman before we move on to the only other game that we've collectively played?
I guess the main thing that I really like about this one, that I got into it more than the previous one, but it's probably more of a time and place thing. Like, I don't think it's like necessarily better or worse. It's just kind of a lot more of the same. But I did appreciate how different a lot of the levels are. Like, there's some really good variety in there. Like, I was surprised when I got to the suburbia level where you're just like in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really like that level.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. The one that I didn't actually dig that much is the last one.
Yeah. I would agree.
And not necessarily because I thought it was bad that you had to just kind of subdue one and capture one as opposed to taking him out. I mean, that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it required, it was almost like, I guess if you talk about the same layer situation,
Right.
like onions, they got layers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the way that you navigate through the layers is much more strict.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not as many ways that you can kind of get through.
Yeah, I do think the levels like that, where it's more high security areas, are a little less fun because you can't move around them as easily. But the like premise of that level is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
you're like in this goth castle type thing. Like,
And there's basically a bunch of like billionaire doomsday preppers who are running this weird party.
yeah.
Yeah, at one point you can push one of your targets into an Iron Maiden, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So
God.
that's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still some good stuff in that level. But yeah, I think the higher security nature, which I feel like the previous game, the later levels were also more high security.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I didn't like as much about the previous one, was that the back few levels were kind of like that. Were just like really high security areas where you basically couldn't move around without like the perfect disguise.
Yeah, and it's not, and I think the same can be said for all of us. I don't think we're necessarily averse to it being more difficult, but I think one of the things that's cool about the game is just having the freedom to kind of, go at it your own way, and those require a much more strict path.
Yeah,
it seems like.
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of the difference between just like this like open world sandbox that you can just kind of have fun with and make the systems break in ridiculous ways versus having to actually follow a linear path to get to from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I think in this game, that last level is the only one that I would say is kind of bad about that.
Okay.
I think all the other ones are very open and free form.
Yeah. And you got pretty, I don't know if this is where you were going earlier before we started talking about the levels, but you got pretty into replaying them, right?
I definitely replayed all of them multiple times. So like I would basically go through it usually twice, just following the mission stories that it gives you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would usually, depending on how much I like the level, play it up to a few more times, just like picking random challenges or like just trying to find some ridiculous way to do something. So I definitely got a lot of enjoyment out of becoming the like, I'm going to master this area of this level and like know how everything works. It's just really, really fun.
Yeah, I've only played each level once, and I did follow So they do give you the mission stories that will kind of guide you through ways to kill the targets if you want a more directed route.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's a good way to play like your first time through, to just kind of get a sense of the level.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's what I did. I played each level once, mostly following. I would kind of explore on my own for a little bit and then turn on some of the stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's always a good way to start. But then I definitely had more fun past the mission stories. Like, seeing those ridiculous setups is funny, but then like actually engaging with the systems was more fun for me after I kind of went past those and started doing other stuff.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. And if I end up having more time for this game, I would definitely like to go back and replay some levels.
Yeah.
Did you, Nate, did you see and one thing I found that wasn't even a mission story, and I don't actually think I ended up taking out the target this way, but there's one of these there's a female target in Mumbai. I think it's Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who has her base camp set up in like this abandoned train hangar.
Yeah.
And you can actually,
I killed her in a lot of ways.
You can actually redirect the train into the old hangar.
Oh, wow.
There's a train that passes by. Yeah, and there's like a little lever that you can switch the tracks on, and the train will literally run into her base.
That's the definition of overkill.
Yeah. And I didn't get her, but everybody was super freaked out after that happened. They was like on high alert.
I'm going to murder this person with a train.
But yeah, I thought that would have been a mission story, but it wasn't. It was just some random thing you could do.
Yeah, I didn't do that one, but one of the really good ones that was a challenge, I think, but not a mission story, was on the racetrack level, where the two targets are a father and daughter, and the daughter's participating in this race.
Right.
And he's like a tech mogul kind of guy. But there's one point where I was just following him around as a security guard, like as one of his bodyguards,
Right.
like early on in the level while the race is going on, and he goes out onto a balcony to watch the race, and you could just kick him off the balcony, and he lands on his daughter's car if you time it right. And you kill both of them at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
That's great.
Some 47 efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good video game.
That is a good video game.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily enjoyed it better than the previous one. Like, I think there are like some quality of life improvements around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very similar. A cool thing is that if you own the previous game, so I got both of them on Steam. So like if you have the same game, both games on the same platform, they'll bring in the previous game's levels into Hitman 2, with all of its quality of life improvements.
Yeah, which just makes it a huge game.
Yeah, so you load that thing up, there are tons of levels.
Mm-hmm.
Either of you have anything else to say about Hitman 2?
It's a good video game. That's about the summation of it, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
So I guess moving on to our resident from the World of Light.
Uh-huh.
How is the World of Light treating you in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate?
Yeah, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the newest in the platform fighter, I think is the technical genre that I've seen used for Smash Brothers before.
Is that what we're going with?
I've seen that before. I don't know.
Party fighter?
Yeah, party fighter, platform fighter, Nintendo mascot fighter, whatever you want to call it.
Power Stone-like?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is the new one. It's out for Switch. It has a lot of things in it, so I don't know.
I have an important question.
Yeah.
Is everyone here?
That's what they say. I guess it depends on what how you interpret that.
Is Sean Bean there?
No.
All right. Well, everyone is not there.
Yeah. The reason they use the reason they use the everyone is here line is because they brought back every playable fighter from previous Smash Bros. Games is playable in this one. So even ones that had been cut previously, and then they added some new ones.
Yeah.
So thinking about talking about this game, there's a lot of places we could start or we can focus on. So there's we could talk about just the roster and like gameplay changes to this version versus previous versions. We could talk about single player modes. We could talk about the online and all the weird problems that has. What do you guys want to talk about? Because this is a big game.
Is this a battle royale?
Yeah, 100 Marios.
Parachute onto an island.
Last one standing is the real Mario.
Okay.
There's only one super mushroom on the entire island, but it's actually not even a buff. It makes you big, so you're an easy target.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess, Nate, are you a weapons guy or not a weapons guy? Or how hardcore are you?
Items. Nate is Fox only, Final Destination, no items.
I like both casual, like crazy, ridiculous Smash with items on and free for all, and I like a good like let's turn items off and have a 1v1 showdown kind of style. So I can get down with both camps of Smash Bros.
Like when you have your friend Garrison in town and you're doing nothing but playing Smash Brothers all weekend, what is your preferred format?
We usually switch around a lot. So we'll do some like co-op runs in classic mode, and then we'll do some 1v1 fights with no items, and then we'll turn on like weird combinations of items and play that way for a little while, and then we'll go online and play 2v2s. So it's just, whatever.
Is the punching bag whack game in this one?
Home run
no, there's no home run contest in this one. I don't think.
I feel like this game oddly is less fully featured than some of the previous ones.
I guess it depends on what you're looking for. They have a lot.
It has the World of Light, which is what's billed as its big new thing. But I feel like in terms of mini games, like it doesn't have the break the targets. It doesn't have home run contests. Like it doesn't have the were they called events? Is that what they were called?
Yeah, event matches.
They don't have the classic All-Star mode. Like they don't. Like they have something called All-Star, but it's not.
Yeah. So they have less of those little like mini games or one-offs, like little modes, and just more like big single player content.
So who are your favorite little people to rock with now?
Only little people though.
Yeah, only the little ones.
I don't know what to call them. Nintendo characters?
Yeah.
I guess.
Characters?
They're just the playable characters, I guess. Fighters.
Little dudes.
Little dudes, little dudes. That's
little
right.
Dudes. So there's...
what is it, 74? Is that the accurate number?
So I pulled up the list here so I can give the most accurate numbers. There are 69 numbered fighters in the game. Then there are 7 Echo fighters, which are basically like mostly copies of other fighters. And then
like new costumes?
They like are a different character. So like Marth and Lucina are both Fire Emblem characters, but they play basically the same. So Lucina is an echo of Marth.
It's like Ganon and Captain Falcon from the GameCube one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, those are. I guess one of them hit harder and was a little slower, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the Echo Fighter. I don't even know if Ganon's still considered an Echo Fighter.
No, he's very different now. They've changed.
Yeah, I think they've kind of changed those characters specifically over the years. But it usually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Echo Fighters usually are like a subtle difference of like this one's slightly faster but slightly less powerful or something.
Yeah, and in some cases they're so subtle that I still don't know what the difference is after playing both of them multiple times.
Yeah, like I was trying to figure out what's the difference between Peach and Daisy.
Yeah, I have no idea. They're different characters, but
I don't know, they seem the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure somebody online has compiled all the statistical differences in there.
Peach still walk with the frying pan and throw turnips at people?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, she does.
Okay. Because that was one of my favorite flex specials, was getting clowned by turnips and frying pans.
Yep.
That's a problem.
So yeah, the roster's huge. I like a lot of the characters. There are very few that I just don't like. Like I don't like the Street Fighter characters, Ryu and Ken.
Who are they?
It's Ryu, and then Ken is an Echo Fighter of Ryu.
I'm sorry, you said you don't like them?
No, I do not like them.
Is that because you have to do Street Fighter button presses?
So you don't have to. You can use their specials like normal, but if you do the Street Fighter button presses, like if you do a quarter circle A, he'll do a Hadouken, which I don't want to happen because I accidentally do Hadokens when I don't mean to.
Yeah, I could see that.
Also, I just don't really care for their moveset, but they do feel like a Street Fighter character. I mean, like, the translation is good.
That has to be weird playing a Street Fighter character in Smash.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, the roster has gone so far off the rails at this point. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is also a game that features Solid Snake and Bayonetta.
And Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, who has never appeared on a Nintendo platform.
Except for, I guess,
outside of Chibi Cloud in Fiat Rhythm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's a wild roster for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, I guess at this point, with what little you've played, are you seeing that any of the characters seem a little bit too strong? Are there any?
From my perspective, which is not like high level play by any means, I think that Inkling from Splatoon is one of the new characters that is very strong, because she's very fast, and because they in the Splatoon games you switch between squid form and kid form. So when you do like your running animation as the Inkling in Smash Brothers, they turn into a squid and like bounce in and out of the stage. And so, like, you can basically, like, zip around the level really fast, and you're really hard to hit.
Gotcha.
Right.
And then you do damage over time, right? You stick them with your color.
So if you paint, they do. Well, they have the ink effect, where a lot of their attacks will put ink on the opponent, and it doesn't do damage over time. But if you ink an opponent enough to where they're like covered in ink, then all your attacks do extra damage to them while that's on them.
Okay.
So yeah, you can get some really cool combos with them, and then some big hits to kill at low percentages. So they're just all around really good. Isabelle from Animal Crossing is surprisingly strong. So in Animal Crossing New Leaf,
I hate that fish hook.
Yeah, she's the mayor's assistant in Animal Crossing New Leaf. So she's a little dog character who is from the Animal Crossing game. So she's really cute and like adorable, but she's a menace. She has a fishing rod move where she just throws out this fishing hook, and if you touch it, then she'll just reel you in and toss you off the stage, and it's really hard to dodge. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say.
Further, depending on your percentage.
Yeah. It's basically like a long range grab, but she can just like lay it across the level and leave it there for as long as she wants, and then reel it in whenever. So it's just really versatile. If
you want to do your best, if you want to, if you're playing the best Smash player that you know, who are you picking?
I mean, I usually just play random, but if I was like, so
you guys never really like get like super serious.
No, I don't really.
Okay.
I mean, I like trying to learn some of the strategies and like combos and stuff as I can, but I'm not like committed enough to focus on one character like you would if you wanted to be like playing in tournaments or anything like that.
And Nate's just really embarrassed to admit that Pichu is his best character.
Yeah, Pichu is number one, obviously.
I can get on board with that. I played a lot of Pichu.
But throwing that out there for Paul.
Electric Rat.
Yeah, if I was gonna pick a character to like do really well with, it would probably be Pikachu, not Pichu. That's
fair.
Or Young Link, or Inkling, or
gotcha.
I don't know, if
you had to pick a main, that would be your main.
That would be my short list as of right now to pick from. Or maybe Zelda, just because I've always liked playing Zelda in these games, and she seems really good in this one.
Okay. Yeah, I've really liked her in this game. Their fire thing seems really powerful.
Yeah.
God.
But yeah,
so Inkling could take on, Sheik and Fox as the top.
I could see it. I could definitely see that for sure. But yeah, it's a good time. Smash Bros is a very different style of fighting game than most traditional fighters. I enjoy
this one you can't trip.
You cannot trip. No.
Okay.
Yay.
It's very fast. It's probably not still quite melee fast, but it's faster than any of the other ones.
Gotcha.
It has a lot of really good movement options, which is the thing I like about Smash Bros. Versus other fighting games, because just like being able to move very freely. And
are people already wave dashing?
I don't think wave dashing is a real viable thing in this game.
Oh,
It's really only in Melee.
Gotcha.
Which is the GameCube one.
Yeah,
So,
and I just want to just jump in real quick. The internet lost their mind when Joker was announced as a DLC character.
Yeah, we never saw it coming.
Yeah, we never saw that one coming. Certainly not. Womp womp.
Yeah, I think that'll be a cool. I think that'll be a cool addition. I'm excited to see what he's like.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like whenever he comes in, like how much of the actual like persona stuff comes with him versus him just being like a fighter.
Yeah,
that's just going to be neat to see how they end up handling that. But
yeah,
anyway.
I'm guessing his final smash will be summoning a persona,
or the all-out team attack.
That'd be cool.
Or that.
Yeah.
When you say final smash, what does that mean?
It's the final smash. It's the last one.
Yeah, every character has a final smash, which is basically like your ultimate move.
Is it? That wasn't a thing in Melee, was it?
No, that was
introduced in Brawl.
Yeah,
okay, so I didn't really play like any Brawl, so that's a new thing for me.
Yeah, and it's traditionally only been from an item. So there's an item called the Smash Ball, which just like pops in and floats around the stage, and you try to break it, and whoever breaks it gets to use their final smash, which is just
What's
like a really strong
final smash.
In this one, it's just like a big series of really fast punches. So if you've played the more recent Donkey Kong games like Tropical Freeze, when you get to the end of a level, you like...
It was really hard.
Yeah. But in those games, when you get to the end of the level, you get a barrel with like a item in it, I think.
Gotcha.
And you like punch it over and over to get more items or something. It's that animation that's the final smash.
Cool.
But yeah. It's a fun time.
So you started talking a little bit about how Smash Bros. Is just a different kind of fighting game.
Yeah.
But this is the 5th Smash Bros. Game.
That's also true.
Smash Bros. Has been a different kind of fighting game since 1999.
That's true.
So my main question for you is like, what do you get out of playing Ultimate that you couldn't get out of playing just like going back and playing any of the previous games? Obviously their main selling point is quote unquote everyone is here and there are more characters, but like, you know, aside from just a larger roster, like what do you get from like could you go back and play Smash 4 on the Wii U and have just as good a time?
I would probably have almost as good a time, sure. I mean, it is a sequel. It's like, you know, people who play Street Fighter V could probably go back and play Street Fighter 4 and still have a good time with it.
Yeah, I mean, this question I'm asking you is not limited to just Smash Bros. Like, yeah, you could apply it to any fighting game or sports game or racing game, like things that
I could go back to Soul Calibur 2 and have a better time than I'm having playing Soul Calibur 6.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just some genres are just very like in a sense with Smash Brothers, they make one per platform just so there is one on that platform.
But there are some improvements.
What is I'm just wondering for you as a Smash Brothers super fan number one.
Yeah.
Like what makes you want to spend 100 hours again in this game where you've played hundreds of hours of each of the previous ones already?
There are a few things that I think are really good beyond the roster. They have refined a lot of the like rule sets stuff. Some of it's still kind of annoying, but some of the options that I really enjoy in this one are the stage options that you have. So in all Smash Bros. Games, there's a lot of different stages from different franchises in the Nintendoverse, but a lot of them have stage hazards, which are just basically like random elements of the stage that will create different obstacles or dangers for the fighters as you're playing. And so this is the first game where they've introduced the stage hazard toggle, so you can turn those on or off depending on what you want. So options like that are really nice. Also, the stage list is very good. Has over 100 stages, and you can do like a flat version of any stage you want. You can do a battlefield version of any stage, which is a basic platform with 3 smaller platforms above it.
Yep.
And then you can do the hazards off or on for any stage. So there's just like immense amount of stage options in this one that no previous game has had.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Smash 4 had some of those things.
Some of them, yeah, but not all of it. And I think that I lost my train of thought. So I think the rule sets that you can set up for how many stocks or time you want or items you want, and then just like have a set of rule sets that you can switch between so you don't have to set them every time is a nice quality of life improvement. And then they also offered other types of multiplayer Smash modes like Squad Strike, where you pick a squad of 3 or 5 characters each and like have one continuous match where you where you go through your characters kind of like a Marvel vs. Capcom team or something. You don't switch out.
And Soul Calibur's had that before too, where like you get a team of 8 and you pick 8 characters.
Mm-hmm. So having more options like that is nice. And I think the online might get there. I don't know that right now. I would say it's an improvement over a Smash 4's online though.
What I've tried of the online, it seems bad.
Yeah, it's different.
Granted, I haven't tried a lot of it, and I have not tried much of previous Smash Bros. Games online. But
yeah,
if I want to play a video game online in 2018, Smash Bros. Ultimate seems like a certain kind of nightmare.
It has its problems, and I'm hoping they'll continue working on it. They just put out a patch the last couple of days, I think, that fixed some of the problems with it. So we'll see. But yeah, I think this game has really good options as far as like just the amount of characters, the amount of stage, the amount of rule set options, and different ways to play Smash Bros. Like all that stuff is just really good. This
game just seems like a quality of life, like a minor quality of life improvement of what Smash Bros. Has been.
Yeah, and the engine is also, again, minor improvements, but it is better. It feels faster. It's more responsive. You have more movement options. So like all of those things come together to just make it a better package, even if it is mostly still the same thing. It's just a better version of the same thing.
I believe you when you say the engine has improvements, but as someone who does not play like 200 plus hours of every Smash Brothers game, like this game feels like Smash Brothers 4 to me.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure if I sat down and played them side by side for a little while and like actually compared, like I'd probably pick out some differences, but just like I played a couple dozen hours, like I probably played like 20, 30 hours of Smash 4. I don't know exactly how much I played, but I played a chunk of Smash 4 when it came out, and now I'm playing Smash Ultimate, and it feels like what I remember that game feeling like.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. I think if you did play them side by side, you would be able to tell, but yeah, I think you're totally valid.
Would you support the inclusion of an anthropomorphic stick of butter with hands and feet, and he's got sneakers on his feet, and in one hand he's got a small butter knife, and in the other hand he's got a dinner roll, and he's called Smash Butter?
Sure.
That's all right. So I'm gonna have Steph listen to what you just said, Will, on the playback, and I want her to draw that.
Is this your original character pitch, Will?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm 100% on board with that. Yeah.
There's another fighting game that came out this year called Soul Calibur 6 where you could probably make that character.
I could probably make Smash Butter.
And you can't do that in Smash Brothers.
That's true. That's true.
Is there a stage editor in this game?
No, that's one of the weird missing modes.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is I feel like there's a good half a dozen modes that have been staples before that are just gone.
Yeah. I think they put so much development time into World of Light. Like, I think
World of Light sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of that time went in development of this one.
I played about 2 hours of World of Light, and I'm like, I would rather do anything else with my time.
That's fair. It is what it is. It's like, so for you guys who don't know what World of Light is, it's basically this game's adventure mode where you start off with just Kirby is the only character available. The world has been destroyed.
Because Sakurai also creates Kirby games.
Yeah, so that's the Sakurai bias. But the world has been destroyed. All the fighters have been captured, and every every character in the greater video game universe has been turned into a spirit. So you wander this giant map collecting spirits.
And it's up to Kirby to save us?
It's up to Kirby. He's got to do it.
I don't know that I feel confident.
Look, man, Kirby fights like intergalactic deities and stuff in his games. I think he's up for it.
See, the last time I played with Kirby, he was like tugging on pieces of yarn.
Fighting a tree.
Yep. But anyway, you start with Kirby, and you have this giant map that you can wander around, and there's a bunch of basically what used to be called event matches in older Smash Brothers games, where like you're going to play on this stage against these opponents, and there are all these special rules applied to the match. And if you win, you get the spirit that sort of being embodied by that fight. So they'll have things like trying to think of like the Owinden cheerleaders are a spirit, and they are 3 Isabels in like cheerleading outfits, and you have to fight them to get the Owinden cheerleaders spirit.
Yeah. So it's a lot of
like that.
Very like thematic fan service type fights. Like they take they pick characters out of the existing 70 whatever characters and try and doctor them up somehow to represent some game that's otherwise not represented in Smash Brothers.
Right. And there's just hundreds of these fights.
Yeah. And that's my main problem with it, is it's just very long, and all it is fights against computers.
Yeah. So if you're not up for playing Smash Bros. Single player and fighting a bunch of computers, then that mode's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah, and I personally don't find fighting computers very long. And how long have you finished World of Light?
So I don't know. Probably I don't care about spoilers, and I don't think anybody should probably care about spoilers for this. But I can say where I'm at and provide some minor spoilers.
If anyone cares about spoilers for the World of Light, then they have bigger problems.
Reevaluate your life priorities, maybe.
Oh man, I gotta go reevaluate my life priorities now. I was so ready to just like get into this story. I was gonna buy the whole game for the story of the World of Light.
Okay, well, I'm gonna spoil part of it.
Oh no.
So you've seen the World of Light map, right?
Yes.
It's pretty big.
It is very large. It's
very large. You kind of like wander around these set paths and uncover the fog covering the world by winning matches. Mm-hmm. When you kind of traverse that main map, you have to find and fight 3 different bosses to unlock the ability to go fight the main boss. His name is Galeem. I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's like an orb of light with wings. So he's at the top of the map. You got to explore the map, find all the other bosses, beat them to take down his shield so you can go fight him. Yep. And you would think that would be the end of the World of Light, but it's not.
Of course not.
Of course not.
So when you do that, which took me I did that. It probably took me.
How long did that take you?
Probably about 15 hours of gameplay.
Point being, this mode is long for fighting, for like a mode where you fight CPU AI characters. Yeah.
And then you fight that boss, and it's like, okay, here's another cutscene, and then, oh look, a second map.
Great.
Which I'm like, okay, I might be good, actually.
Yeah. So when you fought Galeem, had you unlocked all the characters?
No, okay. not in World of Light. I've unlocked all the characters in Versus mode.
Yeah. I'm talking about in World of Light.
But in World of Light, I have probably like 30 of the characters unlocked. Right.
So I'm guessing you'll get the rest in the second map.
Probably. I think there's actually a third map.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm done with World of Light.
So I probably won't finish that either. But it's an interesting enough mode.
You're telling me you could spend like 40 plus hours in World of Light?
I think the second and third maps are smaller based on some quick looking up I did.
Right.
But yeah, it's probably at least a 25-hour mode total.
Yeah, and I'm dunking on it a lot, and I'm sure there's someone out there who just really enjoys single-player Smash Brothers, but I just don't see that as the strength of that game at all.
It's not the strength of the game, but at the same time, I bet there are people who really like it, and I don't hate it. I just I would rather do other things in the game than more of that. So I think it's a totally fine option. It's not the best option for me being that long, but I enjoyed what I did of it. Yeah, it's fine. I don't think it's great or terrible.
Yeah, like I would definitely prefer something shorter and more focused for their single player adventure. But maybe the people who want single player adventures in a Smash Brothers game feel differently. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see being somebody who likes playing Smash Bros, which I am. If I didn't have anybody to play with and I had more free time, like it would be totally fine to sink a few dozen hours into this.
Yeah, those are some requirements, though.
Yeah.
I prefer just what they've done with the classic mode, which classic mode's been in every game, but they've kind of made them more thematic this time. So like, I've only done classic mode twice, but one of them was with Zelda. And at the very end, instead of fighting Master Hand, you fight like Beast Form Ganon.
Yeah. So they have some cool stuff there, and they're all themed, like you said. So you fight like specific opponents in a specific order, and there's like a reason to that order.
Yeah. So I thought that was cooler than. I actually thought that was neater than the World of Light. Like if I wanted to do single player stuff, I would do that instead of World of Light personally.
Yeah. I think classic mode is probably a better mode overall than World of Light.
Yeah. Speaking of unlocking characters, that process is abysmal.
Yeah. So this has been I feel like a weird conversation on the internet at large about this game when it came out is what should unlocking characters in a Smash Brothers game with 70-something fighters be like, right? And I think the right answer should be to give as many options as possible, including probably an option to just hit a button on a menu somewhere to unlock all characters.
There should 100%. Like I don't care if they do it whatever way they want to do it, but I strongly feel like after seeing the way they went. I strongly feel that there should at the very least be an option in a menu to just say, hey, unlock all characters.
Yeah, I think that would be totally fine.
Because the way they currently have it, it is like a minimum like 10-hour time sink to unlock all the characters.
Right.
And that time sink is predominantly like you have to like it's basically just as you play the game, you only start with 8 out of 70-something characters available. And as you play the game, just periodically, one of the fighters to unlock will pop up, and you have to beat them in a one-on-one to unlock them.
Yeah.
And just like the pace at which that happens takes a long time. And on top of that, these fights aren't easy. So like you have to actually be pretty decent at Smash Brothers to win these fights. And like if you're not like, I think you told me it took you about 10 hours to do it, but like you're pretty good at Smash Brothers. Like imagine if someone who's not great at Smash Brothers, like it's going to take them even longer. I mean,
yeah, some of those AI fights, the challenger approaching AI fights, like if I was imagining like a younger kid who's never played a Smash Brothers game before trying to beat those, like it would probably become this epic struggle.
Yeah, like I only win about half the fights. Like I probably win them at like a 50-50 rate. I mean, most of my deaths are when the stage kills me because that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Because these stages are annoying. But like they're not easy fights. Like
no, they're definitely not. They ramp up. The more fighters you unlock, the harder they get. So by the end, they're really tough.
Yeah. So like for someone to unlock all 70-something characters in this game, and this is kind of the bottom line, like it is an ordeal. Yeah. And like the most enjoyable Smash Brothers is for me is when you have like a multiplayer setting and you have all the characters unlocked and people are just, playing with whatever character they want to play with. And like to get to that point is a time investment, like a large time investment. And I don't think the process is fun. Like I think it's just bad.
Right.
And like I could see someone enjoying that, or I could see someone, I was about to say the easy way to like, if you're not good at Smash Brothers, the way to unlock them all would be the World of Light. But the fact that you said you went through that entire first map and only have 30 characters is like, okay, that's clearly not a good way to do it either.
Yeah, and you still have to do the challenger approaching fights, I think, if you do it that way.
No, I think when you beat them in the World of Light, like unlock them for use in World of Light, they're automatically unlocked for...
Oh, okay, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. And you can set the difficulty in World of Light, which is why that could be quote unquote easier.
Yeah. World of Light would be easier because you can set the difficulty, and we didn't even talk about all the RPG mechanics in that, so you could just like grind it out and have higher stats.
So like that would be the long way to do it, but a way that someone less skilled could do it. But I mean, that doesn't sound good either.
Yeah.
If your primary goal is to just have characters play with. So there's no, like, you cannot go just buy this game and then day one come home and have a reasonable number of fighters to play with. Like, you start with 8, and to get many more than that is going to take a long time. And that's just a bummer. Like, that totally sidesteps the whole party game. Like, getting a group of people together and playing for fun. Like, this just, it requires someone to invest a lot of time to unlock those characters.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that having the option to, like, continuously unlock characters and start with a small roster is the perfectly fine option for some people. Totally fine. But yeah, I think just having an option to say, nope, absolutely, I just want all the characters, like, that would just be a nice thing to do.
That's all it would take to fix this, is just put an option in the menu to say unlock characters, and that would be great.
Yeah.
You know, guys, maybe they could add in a DLC purchase, a microtransaction that unlocks you all the characters.
Maybe some kind of doubler.
I mean, I would probably pay $4.99 for that.
I'm pretty confident that they're not going to offer that option.
That's a lot of $4.99s that they could get.
Yeah, I was kind of hating myself as I was saying that.
I was kind of hating everything as you were saying that.
Yep,
that's funny. Well,
so I guess my last wrap up thought is I had this thought the other day when I was playing it, is like, I'm starting to feel, I think, the way about Smash Brothers as I have felt about Pokemon the past game or two.
Sure.
Which is, there are some very, very, very minor quality of life improvements that could be a big deal to people who are way down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
But which also make the latest one the best one.
Yes.
And I feel like I've said for Pokemon before, it's like, if you're a newcomer, like, always just start with the latest one.
Right.
But as the series has gone on, I feel like I've just had diminishing returns because it is so much the same.
Yeah, I think that's totally
95% or more of Smash Brothers Ultimate is what has been in previous games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that, you know, you've also got to realize that, you know, for a lot of people, this is going to be the first Smash that they've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, whenever you talk about the minor changes, I don't know that they necessarily have to reinvent the formula if they feel like that they have it right. You just have to know as the consumer that, you know, you're not getting a giant feature set change, but, you know, this is the only Smash for Switch, and 1 million people have a Switch that never had a Wii U.
Yeah.
And there's probably more people who are playing this game for the first time than there are people like us who've been playing Smash since it came out on the 64. You know, like, when you put all that together, I can kind of see what leads them to make the decisions that they made to get to this point.
Well, I think that with 95% of the game being the same, I mean, I think that really, just more than anything, shows you what a game changer it would be to introduce a character like Smash Butter. I think that would really revitalize the franchise.
I'm on board. Let's write an email.
The thing is, now that you've said this in a public setting, Nintendo officially cannot do this, because then they would owe you things because you came up with the idea, and we have official proof. So
I'm sorry.
You've ruined it for everyone, Will.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Smash Butter is dead, and you killed him.
And
already, he's dead on arrival.
And on that note of Will killing things that he loves, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up ATACS episode 50. I know that we got some things we got to run and go do here soon. So I'm just going to go around the table real quick. We'll start with you, Mr. Will. Do you have anything that you're looking forward to playing here in the next couple of weeks?
I purchased the Council, so we'll see. Hopefully I get a little time to dig into that. I'm also messing with EDF 5, Soul Calibur 6, a game called Last Will, which is an escape room game that I play with my friend Luke. And maybe I'll start this game called Comet Crash 2. the Cronkoid Wars with Ryan on PS4. It's some sort of tower defense-y co-op campaign thing. So we'll see what that's about.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing about that one because the name is ridiculous.
Yes.
So, all right, Mr. Nate, what about you? What have you got coming up? But before we begin our Game of the Year deliberations.
Yeah, so I'm working on compiling a list of games that I should maybe check out before we do a end of year wrap up discussion. But the main thing I'm probably going to be doing for the next few weeks is I'm going to get the Xbox Game Pass and try out a few things that have landed on there recently. So to name a few, there's Below finally came out suddenly out of nowhere.
Yep.
After 36 years in development.
Yep. So
the development originally started for the Atari 2600.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then Ashen has kind of caught my interest. And Mutant Year Zero is another one I might check out on Game Pass. So there's a few things there.
Okay.
You should let me know. I'm not sure I'd play Ashen, but Mutant Year Zero and Below, you should let me know how those go.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, luckily we have a convenient format for which Kate can share his thoughts.
There definitely is a tool out there that you too can be a part of. Mr. Flex, what have you got coming up here in the next couple of weeks before we're going to try to record some things for the end of the year?
Yeah, I've also been think of what I might want to squeeze in, but I don't know that realistically I have time to fit anything else in. I did start Far Loan Sales recently, and I think that one I will finish because it seems pretty short.
Okay.
And initial thoughts?
I'm sorry?
Initial thoughts on that?
Let's get into it later because that's
okay.
I don't think I can give like a one sentence thought.
Gotcha.
Be more detailed than we have time for. And last night I also I dusted off my PlayStation Vita and downloaded some Persona dancing games.
Okay.
So I will do that. I will probably, and I may continue to poke at Smash Brothers or Hitman. We'll see. And then we'll have our Game of the Year festivities. I'm not sure what form that'll take, but we'll do something.
Yeah, so we're going to talk offline about that. We'll figure out what it is that we're doing, but it should be sometime probably between Christmas and New Year's, I think is the time period that we talked about. So we're gonna figure out what that's going to look like. So just keep on watching this channel to hear some end of the year goodness and some of our thoughts on what 2018 games we think deserve some accolades from the ATACS crew. So just keep an eye out on that. We'll get something figured out sooner rather than later. And so that's going to wrap us up here for Adults Talking About Cool Stuff. This has been ATACS episode 50, and we'll see you sometime here in the next couple of weeks. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.